Hello and welcome to Verbling. I'm teacher Oakley, and in this class here at Verbling we are going to continue our series this week on the TOEFL speaking exam. We're kind of right in the middle of it. Today we're going to look at questions 3 and 4. These are integrated questions. You will be required to do a very short reading. You have 45 seconds to do that reading, more than adequate time to read and comprehend one paragraph. And then you are going to listen in question 3 to a conversation, likely between two college students. And in question 4, you'll listen to a lecture. And then you will be asked to comment about the conversation or the lecture. Now, basically today we're going to look at examples. We're going to go nice and slow. We're going to read transcripts of a shortened version, and I'm going to introduce to you a template or an outline of how to respond. In reality, the trick with the TOEFL exam is not really not having enough to say. It's more like saying what you need to say within this very short time. In questions 3 and 4, you're given 30 seconds to prepare your answer, 60 seconds to speak. So getting everything into this 60 seconds is really the challenge. It's not going to help you to talk really fast. Your delivery or how you speak is 1/3 of your scoring. So if you're talking really fast like this and they can't understand you, this is not going to help your score. You've got to speak with a nice even pace and speak in an organized fashion. If you get cut off before you're done, as long as you have a nice delivery and you're very organized with what you're saying, you can still get a top-notch score. Okay, hello, Saiban. Again, hello. How are you? Again.
Good, thank you, teacher. How are you?
Okay. Just had a little lunch.
I good. I have question, please. I'm like really looking for the word in English. Do you know when the company, the branch of company? I mean, do you know there's a people or the company is belong to the bigger company. Let's say Microsoft has a branch in Iraq. What do you call it? This branch? I mean, is like when it's like do you know like working to connect between company and customer. So is connect the customer and company, but I forget the word. It's business. In the business we really read a lot.
Right now, is this company the same company? I mean, if it's the same
Yeah,
exact company
yeah,
selling the same products, then
yeah.
okay.
Let's say Toyota has a branch in Iraq. So Toyota will not directly sell the car to the customer. It will sell to the branch. It is branch. I mean, will give it to their branch in Iraq, and the branch,
Oh,
their branch will give it to the will sell to the customer.
like a franchise, like the way.
Franchise. Yeah, but there's another word, teacher. Can you say another word, or it's the only word?
uh,
Can you spell the franchise, please? So I will just look at
sure,
the synonym because it was really it was. Oh yeah, thank you.
sure.
Uh,
Um,
it's
there's another word. It depends on how it's structured. You know, if it's exactly the same company and the mother company's just directly making the money, it's a branch. If it's a franchise, like that's the way McDonald's and fast food companies generally work.
Yeah, actually, I'm not looking. I'm not looking for the franchise. Yeah, I know what does mean franchise mean. I mean, what does it mean? But I'm not looking for the franchise. Yes, but there's other word, but I really
Uh,
forget it. Okay, anyway, I will look it
yeah,
for.
I think
Thank you.
I know there's another word, but I cannot remember it right now.
Okay, okay.
I I am,
Thanks.
sorry.
No, no,
Perhaps
it's okay. Thank
if
you.
I had been getting prepared for a business English class, my brain would be in that
Okay.
zone. But I am so much
Okay. Thank you.
somewhere else. I completely mentally prepared to talk about TOEFL, so I'm a
Sure.
little
Yes.
unaware. Sorry if it comes to me during the class.
Okay.
I
No,
just
no, it's
cannot
okay.
remember it at this time.
Thanks.
Okay, let me also welcome B. Hello, B.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing okay. Uh, Doing all right. Okay, we're gonna jump right in. Okay, I'm gonna do a screen share. We're gonna jump right in with a question 3, example question 3 in the TOEFL speaking test. 6 questions total. Question 3, short reading, conversation. Normally you listen to it. Today we're going to actually look at the transcript. I'm going to go nice and slow. Then I'm going to let one of you guys tackle the question. Then we're going to look at a template, because really in TOEFL, very much unlike IELTS, where you can sort of you can talk about whatever you want in IELTS. In TOEFL, you cannot. Your content or your answer being relevant to the question is a third of your score. So there really is a correct answer. So the thing about TOEFL, another difference is IELTS will mix up different types of questions. They don't have an infinite number of types of questions. That's a good way to study for IELTS, but you never know if you're going to get a description question, a yes/no question, advantage, disadvantage. You don't really know what order they're going to come at you. In TOEFL, you know exactly what the question type will be for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Question 3, which we're going to look at today. Reading, generally this will be something about campus life, student life. Usually two students will be discussing what was in the reading. The students will either be highly supportive of the information in the reading, or will, more often than not, likely, will be against it. And pretty much always they're going to have a couple key points why they're against it or why they support it. There'll be key points and details. Now you are allowed to make notes. You'll be able to see the reading as you answer, so you don't really need to make notes of the reading, but the listening section, keep your notes very organized. All right, so you make sure you understand what the problem is, or the situation is, which you should be able to get easily from the reading, and then listen mostly for when I'm making notes, I write P1.1 D1 detail, a little detail, P2 D2.2 detail 2, because basically that's the information you're going to need to answer question 3. Sounds simple, but of course the speakers will, when they're speaking, will have all kinds of distracting statements. Yeah, well, I don't know, I guess, maybe. They'll be saying things that aren't really content distractors. So you've got to just learn how to listen for the important information and let go the useless information. Another key point I want to bring up, and don't forget, a lot of people concentrate on the reading and the conversation. Also, there is a narrator, the person who asks the question, who introduces the reading, introduces the conversation. Listen very carefully to what he says. He will give you key words. He will tell you this is This is a newspaper article in the campus bulletin. This is a notice on the bulletin board of the dormitory. He will tell you, he will give you keywords, so when you're speaking, you can use the keywords that the announcer or narrator is using. So listen closely. Pay attention to the narrator. Don't blow him off. He's going to give you some clues. And not to mention, it's ridiculously important to understand exactly the question. Okay, let's start with question 3. I'm going to do a screen share. It's just no better way than to just do it. Okay, just a sec here. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so the narrator will come on and he'll say, read the following announcement from the university president. What I mean is that your first sentence when you begin speaking about this, the university president has announced, okay? It's going to give you some keywords, and then you can extremely briefly, you know, one clause, less than a sentence, what he has announced. Then you start talking about the students. So basically the reading part will be your first sentence that you speak, a very, very one-sentence summation. That's why I say listen to the narrator. He will give you excellent keywords you can use when you answer the question. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read this first part real quickly for you, and then we'll go on to a transcript of the students. Due to recent budget constraints, the university has decided to close the computer labs during weekends and reduce their operating hours during the week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. To 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. These changes are necessary in order to compensate for an unexpected budget shortfall. Without these cutbacks, the school would be forced to reduce service in other important areas, such as the library and the cafeteria. Okay, at this point, the narrator will come back on. Now listen to two students discuss the announcement. And here we go. Okay, I'm not shy. I'll go ahead. Let's B, why don't you help me out on this one? And Saiban, I'm going to have you answer the question. So pay attention, Saiban, so you can listen carefully. B, I'll go ahead and be the woman. I'm not shy. I don't care. Generally, there's always going to be a woman and a man, which makes it easier for you to reference the man says, the woman says. So anyway, B, can you help me out here? So, all right. Did you hear the announcement? They're cutting back the computer lab hours.
Yes, but it's better that they cut down there than at the library of the cafeteria.
Maybe for you, but I don't have a computer. I use the computer lab a lot. Plus, I need to have access to a computer for my economics class.
Well, they'll still be open during the week.
I know, but I get most of my work done during the weekend. The labs are usually empty then. They'll probably be filled with students now. It's going to make it really hard for me to get all my classwork done.
I didn't really think of that.
Okay, this is a much shortened version. You would actually listen to a 60-second to 90-second conversation. All right. At this point, the narrator would return, and he would say this part. The woman offers her opinion of the announcement. State what her opinion is and what reason she gives for having that view. Generally speaking, question 3 in TOEFL is always the same. The person offers their opinion. You are asked to state what their opinion is and what reason she gives. So there you go. They clearly say what exactly they need you to do. So listen very carefully for this part. So you must say, again, content is 1/3 of your score. So in order to get that full 1/3 value, you need to say what her opinion is and what reasons, plural. So you have to at least be able to give a couple reasons for having that view. There it is. Okay. Saiban, you want to give it a try?
Okay, teacher. Actually, her opinion, she is not happy. I mean, she is really not happy about the announcement. I think. I'm sorry, this is the first try, so
It's okay.
please forgive me about the rudimentary answer. I mean, the bad answer, but I will try, desperately try to give you the good answer. And I think her opinion is that she is really not happy with a new announcement, and she is worried about the announcement and about the future, and she is right now she will probably have a problem because, and one of this reason that she gave, she said that the lab will be, I mean, will be filled with the student, and it will be really hard for her to concentrate, or to work, to have work done. I mean, to do her work.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is the first one, but I will really carefully listen to the second one.
No, it's quite okay. It's quite okay because I'm using you as my guinea pig so that I can compare how you approach the question, and I'm going to present you with kind of a templated response. Well, the reasons, okay, another reason, you've got to, always in part 3 there's going to be 2 reasons. Her first reasons, she doesn't have a computer, and so if I'm writing notes, here's what I'm going to write. P1.1, no computer. D1, economics class. She really needs it for her economics class. So I can make a point and add a little detail. If I'm making notes, okay, I would, second part you got, okay, I would write P1 hours weekend. That's it. I'm not writing full sentences when I'm writing notes. I'm writing words, keywords, so that I can remember basically what keywords to follow. P1 means point 1. Okay, and detail 1, maybe many students, maybe hard to get work done, either one or both, depending on, how much time or what I catch. But that's basically it. That's basically all the notes I really need. Now, okay, Saiban led off with giving her opinion. Now, there's 2 kind of strategies here. Let's look at our template. In our template, much like Saiban did correctly, you want to start out with a topic sentence. And, okay, in our template, the woman states, you state or you report the woman's opinion. Here we see the woman believes that the decision to reduce the hours of the computer lab is a bad idea. You want to say it, Saiban, you kind of beat around the bush and you said, well, I think the woman's opinion, she thinks, I believe that. You kind of beat around the bush. In actuality, in TOEFL, you cannot beat around the bush. In IELTS, that's a very good thing. They like you to use redundant speech and repeat ideas, rephrase. They love that. You just can't do it in TOEFL. You have to be extremely direct. Look at this nice, short, direct sentence here. Okay, now I'm presenting you with this template. Another idea for you guys, what I do, or what I would do if it were me, I would very quickly state what the announcement says. The president of the university has announced a reduction of hours for the computer lab. The woman thinks that this is not a very good idea. I sort of combine stating the opinion with a very brief summary of the reading. By giving a brief summary of the reading, I can actually state my opinion even shorter because I've already basically said it. And I've included some information about the reading. Not much, hardly anything, but enough to show that the reading is included into my answer. That's it, okay? That's the beginning. There's two possibilities. Again, I'm not saying one is wrong and one is better than the other, because the fact is that the question, you don't need to say the background, but it can help you to express the opinion, is my point. Okay, so actually you did have the right idea to give a topic sentence and express the idea. Now, reason or point one. Her first reason for claiming this is that she needs a computer for her classwork. All right, no computer. If you remember, my notes would have said no computer. There's a million ways to say this. Her first point she brings up is that she doesn't have a computer. Or one reason that she disagrees with the announcement is because she doesn't have her own computer. It doesn't matter how you say it, but you got to say it. There's a million ways to say it. And then details, D1 in my notes, and I said economics class. Okay, here the woman states she doesn't have a computer and that some of her classes require her to use one. I would say something slightly different. The woman claims that she needs to have a computer in order to do her work for her economics class. Great. Again, a million ways to say it, but P1, D1, P1, D1. That's the real secret. Okay, also, woman claims it will be harder to complete all of her work. Great. According to the woman, the best time to do work is on the weekends. Now she fears the labs will be too full during the week. Okay, same idea. Having a basic outline in mind or a basic template really helps. Now, you can see a countdown clock as you're doing this. If you get here, you're done with this part, the last part here, and you see you have 8 or 10 seconds, then go ahead and add a conclusion. You don't need a conclusion for TOEFL, but if you've got, they hate dead air, no, just not talking, so you might as well add a little conclusion. It's not necessary, but you have that extra weapon. So a simple conclusion would be just restating your topic sentence. For these reasons, the woman strongly disagrees with the announcement that was made by the president of the university. Great. That sentence took about 8 seconds to speak. And done. My timer's done. So use the timer effectively. Now, another very important point here. Actually, two important points. You've got to have, see these words that are bold. The woman believes, the woman states that, the woman claims, according to the woman. In order to be effective in the TOEFL test, you have to have a lot of synonyms for saying that somebody said something. Somebody believes, somebody claims, somebody asserts, somebody gives examples, somebody gives an example, somebody illustrates this point, somebody uses as an example, blah, blah, blah. So you have to have different or a variety of ways to say someone said. This is very important. Believe me, it will be extremely useful to you. Making sure you have an arsenal of ways to say that. Okay, her first reason. All right, you've also got to use organizational language, signal words, signal phrases to signal, well, here's a reason. Well, here's an example. Well, here's another reason. Here's the conclusion if you're going to have one. Things like her first reason, okay, the second reason, you introduce it with also. All right, so you need to be doing that, and also simple connectives, like because, due to the fact that, for the reason that, blah, blah, blah. These kinds of phrases that connect ideas are extremely important, not only in TOEFL, but also in actually any of these English exams. This is something they totally is mandatory in any of these. Okay, B, I don't want to leave you out, so here we go. I'll give you a chance here. Okay, let's do the whole thing again. I'm going to go through it a little bit faster, B, so be ready. Okay, narrator, read the following announcement from the president of a university. Effective immediately, the university is instituting a new policy on off-campus visitors. Any guests are now required to register with campus security and obtain a guest pass, which must be worn at all times. This new policy is necessary in order to keep all the students safe and to increase campus safety's knowledge of who is on campus. And the announcer, now listen to the following conversation about the announcement. Okay, Saiban, you and me now doing the dialogue.
Okay,
right.
teacher. Okay.
I'll let you be the man. I'm not afraid.
Don't worry. It's okay for me to be a woman. It's okay. Don't worry about that. It's just little acting. It's not big deal.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. You can start.
Okay, teacher. I think the university new policy is great.
Really? I think it's going to be annoying. I have some friends visiting, and they're going to have to spend all this time registering. And what if they lose their passes?
True, but that's a minor inconvenience. It's worth it. It's worth it if the campus is safer. Remember that vandalism that took place at the library was done by someone from off campus.
I still think the school is overreacting. One bad thing happens, and they go and change the policy.
No, there have been other incidents. A couple months ago, there were some things stolen from one of the dorms, and the students reported seeing a suspicious figure.
I guess you're right. Okay, that's it. Announcer time. The man gives his opinion on the announcement. State the man's opinion and provide the reasons he gives for holding it. It's always important, of course, to know if the woman kind of has an opinion too, but she doesn't really go into it. The man is the one that makes 2 points, or 2 reasons, gives 2 reasons. Okay, B, ready to give it a try? Here's your template. I'll even give you the template to help you along. There you go. B, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I think the state option of the man is he agree with this policy because he think that it make the one reason is it make when the woman said that is gonna be annoying, and the man said it's minor annoying. minor minor thing, minor inconvenience.
Hmm.
Uh, because is was something bad happened. One thing bad happened, and the woman said that just one thing bad happened, and the university changed the policy, and she think the university was overreacting,
Okay.
and the reason number two is I didn't remember.
It's like, actually, even while we're practicing here in verbling, don't be shy about grabbing a pencil and paper and making notes. Okay, let me talk about B. When you state the opinion, you absolutely need to say what the policy is. You said the man agrees with the policy, but you've got to say what the policy is.
Yeah,
So the
the
man
policy
agrees.
is
Yeah.
about requirement passes.
Okay, that's right. So the man agrees with the university's new policy to require passes for off-campus guests. Boom! That's it. That's perfect. Something like that. Very short, direct, to the point. Okay, and then the reasons. Now, your big mistake, B. You're talking about the woman. Who cares about the woman? The question is not about the woman. The question does not even mention the woman. State the man's opinion and provide the reason he gives. You're
Yeah,
wasting a lot of time talking about the woman. You
I
should
haven't
not.
got the question yet.
Okay. Okay. So, uh, no, I'm using your example to try to teach others here. Okay, and to teach you. We don't care what the woman says. It's at first. Now, see, this is a tricky one because in reality, when you heard this woman starts by also giving her opinion. So you don't know whose opinion are you really going to hear. So if I'm making notes, I might be confused at this point in the conversation. Well, who am I reporting on? Who am I talking about? But then as it continues, I can tell the man is giving 2 points. All right, here's his
Uh,
first one. Yes, he
the
does
first
say
one
it's
is
inconvenient. Uh, so, what is the first one here? B. What is reason number one?
uh, point number one is the policy is great. Number two is minor inconvenient but mm, big worth.
No. Policy is great. Is his opinion. That's all it is. Point one. Well, Saivan, what do you think is point one? What is his first reason to think
Safer.
It's
why?
because of the yeah okay. He mentioned that there's something I mean stolen that will be I'm sorry that it's is
Down here.
about safety. The student will be yes things will be stolen yeah, and he mentioned the student will be more safe. Um, Actually, he mentioned that the stolen things yes, that from Durham. This is that the second one. And the first one that he mentioned one another accident that's happened inside the campus in the library.
Right.
So yeah,
Vandalism. Right.
but
Okay.
vandalism. Actually, I don't know what does
Vandalism.
mean vandalism.
That's okay. That's just in the word vandalism that refers to when people break things, like maybe they broke some windows in the library, or they painted. When people use spray paint and they draw a picture or sign their name on a wall
Oh,
on a
okay,
building that is not their building, um,
okay,
public or private property, that's called vandalism. Somebody breaks something of somebody else's or destroys property of someone else's.
So
So,
he mentioned the accident. The first reason it's about the accident, teacher. What's happening in the library?
right. Well, it's not an accident. Vandalism is a purposeful, somebody on purpose broke something.
Yes. Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah. It's not
it's a
accident. It's
crime.
on
Right.
purpose. Yes.
Yeah, it's actually a crime. Okay, there's uh, okay, so there's B. You said safer. Okay, you could say in your second sentence, reason one. All right, he thinks the campus will be safer, and then detail. He brings up the point that there was some vandalism at the library in the recent past. Okay, great. And second reason, he also says that there has been some theft. And he brings up the fact that students reported a suspicious figure. Okay, so there you go. There's your basic point or reason and detail. Point, reason, detail, reason, detail. One good thing, they're always in the same format, so you basically know they're going to start off by introducing what they're. One of them is going to have a strong opinion. When you actually listen, one benefit to listening as opposed to reading, you will definitely hear that either the man or the woman has a strong intonation. One of them is talking like this, and the other one is saying, "Oh, really? Oh, okay. I didn't know that." It's pretty obvious. The one with the talking like this is the one who you're going to be talking about. And you can basically ignore the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one benefit of
And,
that.
and how can I know that which person I have to focus?
Well, I just gave you a clue. In the real test, you will listen. You won't read. And when you listen, I mean, it's a lot easier when you listen because you can hear their intonation. And as I mentioned, maybe in this example, sometimes it's extremely obvious. Sometimes not so much. And they usually, whoever says their opinion first, that's going to be the one you're going to follow. And the other person may disagree, or they may just say, "Why do you think so?" Or they may disagree. That's
Okay,
very common.
focus on the first one who speak.
Probably, most likely. Or the
Yeah.
first one who gives his opinion. I mean,
Yes.
it's a lot longer in real life. And they may say, "Hi, Martin. Hi, Susie. How are you doing today?" "I'm doing well, but I'm really angry about the new policy." You know, they may have some other nonsense dialogue before. So be aware of that as well. Okay. All right. Now, that's question 3. We're kind of running out of time, so we're gonna look at question number 4. Summarize and/or contrast question. Now, in question 4, it's going to be reading and a lecture. Probably a university professor, somebody lecturing. Somehow, the lecture relates to or contrasts, goes against the reading. All right. Typically, the reading passage will have 3 to 5 main points. You may want to briefly write them down. Again, you have 45 seconds to read. It's only one paragraph. You should be able to actually read it in 20 to 25 seconds. So that gives you another 20 seconds to jot down some notes or whatever. While listening to the lecture, you're listening to basically related to the characteristics mentioned in the reading, the points or aspects or whatever of the topic. Basically, the speaker or the lecturer is going to talk about the same things, but he may agree with them and give examples of them. He may disagree with them, or he may expound upon them. He may say more about them. Generally speaking, the lecturer will either agree or disagree with the information in the reading. Don't forget, in the conversation we just looked at, usually one of them disagrees, but maybe one of them strongly agrees. Well, the last one we looked at, actually, the man was agreeing with the policy. So you don't know before if they're going to agree or disagree. Let's look at a sample. Again, with the narrator, read the following passage about captive breeding. Okay, and this would be the reading passage, which I will read briefly. Okay. Both environmentalists and animal rights activists consider captive breeding a solution to the threat of extinction of certain endangered species. In captive breeding, endangered animals are caught and bred, and the offspring is then released back into the wild. Unfortunately, the results of this program have been mixed. In many cases, the animals that are released back into the wild are unable to survive. The time spent in human captivity makes it more difficult for them to acquire food and to fit in with other members of their species. Okay, so this is background. This is to prepare you for what you're going to hear. Again, the narrator. Now listen to a professor lecture about the same topic. Okay, I guess I'll be the professor. Why not? So both of you guys can listen. Okay, so we've been talking about some problems faced by biologists when they try to reintroduce species into the wild. As we've talked about, sometimes the animals aren't ready or able to go to fit into their native habitats. But there have been some new strategies used which seem to be working out. For example, biologists recently reintroduced 4 lynx, you guys know what a lynx is, right, into the wild. The first time they tried it, the cats died of starvation, and they didn't know how or where to hunt. This time, they kept the animals longer and let them mature. They also forced the animals to hunt for food instead of giving them the food directly. And finally, they kept the lynx together in a big pen so they know how to get along with other members of their species. Okay, the professor describes the result of a captive breeding experiment. Explain how the results of the experiment relate to the reading on the topic. Okay, so this is a little more challenging. You somehow have to relate. If the professor argues against something or gives examples, you have to relate one to the other. Okay. Before you give this a try, I want to point out a couple things. All right. What is, in the reading, you have to get the main idea. What is the main idea here, Saiban, do you think?
Okay, okay. The main idea it's about the breeding, a specific kind of the captive breeding to preserve or save the extinction endangered species or species of a certain type of the animal by just let them free and release them to the, I mean, just sending them or returning them to the wild. Uh, so they will be they will have more freedom to I mean to breeding and for life. So they will be, I mean, they will have more and more animal of this species.
Okay, now that's very good, but you know what else that is? That's very long-winded and very involved. When you're doing any of these exams, when you're doing the reading, when you're doing this, well, this is reading in the speaking exam. When you're interpreting information, reading or listening, keep things as simple as possible. Another thing to be aware of, especially in part 4 question, one of the keys here, I think, the key sentence, yes, you're right. All that stuff you said was right. It's about captive breeding and the point of captive breeding and blah, blah, blah. But really, what I need to know is the reading says captive breeding has had mixed results. That's basically it.
Yes.
Keeping it simple. Beware to look for this type of sentence where it says something is good or bad or effective or not effective or useful or not useful or whatever. This is going to be a key, because then when the lecturer speaks, they're probably either going to agree with it's good or bad or effective or not effective, or disagree. Likely, in all likelihood, that's what's going to happen. That's what happens in part 4. The relationship between the reading and the speaker is there's going to be something where somebody has a kind of an opinion about something. Okay, so what is the reading's opinion? In other words, look at the reading. What is the reading's opinion? Captive breeding has mixed results. Simplify that in your head. So when you listen to the professor, maybe even write it down. So when you listen to the professor, he clearly talks about how he has a long introduction. Beware of that. That happens in TOEFL. He has a lot of superfluous statements like, you guys know what a lynx is, right? Beware of that. They're going to do that. You're going to hear that. Those are just things to distract you or to break your concentration. Listen for the same things you're going to use when you're speaking. Listen for signal words and signal phrases that say he's introducing points. The first time they tried it, okay, if I hear the word first ever, my ears perk up and I start to listen carefully. Oh, first time the cats died or died of starvation, they didn't know how or where to hunt. Okay. Now, this time, okay, now this time, all right, there's something different. They kept the animals longer and let them mature. All right, this is some. Now, here's where I'm going to be making notes. Animals longer, mature, I don't know, whatever I write down. Like 2 words that co-locate or 1 keyword. That's what I'm going to be making notes of. They also, okay, also, ding, 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 another signal phrase. Here comes another point. This is going to be, when you hear these, this time, also, and look, and finally, when I hear these, this means the speaker is going to be giving one of the main points I need to speak about in my answer. He's telling you exactly, here it comes. Here comes the important information you need to use. So really focus in on that and don't get distracted by well. Okay, so here he goes. He gives his points. They kept animals longer, forced animals to hunt. Okay, finally kept links together, kept together. Okay, basically he's brought up pretty much 3 points. Okay. All right, so in this response, part 4 question, what they really want you to do, they want you to relate, if you see this in a question, relate, explain how the results of the experiment relate to the reading on the topic. So you have to be mentioning both things and comparing. You're comparing and contrasting. They're always going to set up question 4 to allow you to speak in a way to show you know how to compare 2 different things, 2 different pieces of information. That is the point of the question. So keep that in mind. That's why they're asking you this question. It will always be that way. Now, if it's results of an experiment or read the conclusions or examples or whatever, you don't really know what it is, but you do know you're going to be comparing what the reading and the speaker. Okay, so Ben, you want to give this a try? Explain how the results of the experiment relate to the reading on the topic.
Okay, teacher. The result. Okay, actually the result. First of all, they mixed. So for the first experiment was not good result, but after that they found it. They found a new way. So they led the animal or endangered species to become mature, and they force them to hunting, and then when they do this way, and then they release them to the wild, they got a good result, because they for the new way of the experiment was they have a positive result, but the first experiment was not good.
Okay.
So
All
I'm
right.
sorry for terrible answer. I'm really
No,
sorry.
it's okay. It helps me contrast your answer with my template here. Okay. Now the key is combining information from the lecture and the reading. Here is a kind of templated response. Now first your main response, your introductory sentence, your topic sentence. All right. So the question actually says, explain how the results of the experiment relate to the reading on the topic. Again, kind of two ways to do this. Just like I mentioned with the first template in the first question 3, I said I would mention very briefly what the reading says. In my view, I would change the template slightly, and I would do that. I told you what I would say earlier in the class. I would simply say the reading states that captive breeding has had mixed results. However, the professor explains the results of a newer experiment in which captive breeding was shown to be much more successful. Okay, a nice two-part sentence which basically outlines the whole thing in general terms. Mixed results, was successful. That's it. As economically and efficiently as I can. I've outlined now exactly what I'm going to talk about. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to contrast here. So we're going to have one characteristic, one point from the reading. For example, one problem with captive breeding, according to the reading, is that animals do not always survive when reintroduced into the wild. All right. Contrast that using a contrasting but. All right. But the scientists were able to successfully reintroduce the lynx into the wild in the second experiment. I actually like, Saiban, that you did talk about first experiment, second experiment. I think that part of your answer was actually clearer than the template here. Okay, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go back and forth in question 4. Reading, lecture, reading, lecture. The reading states that a major problem is the animals don't know how to hunt. However, for the experiment, biologists first taught the animals how to hunt before releasing them. Okay, notice, however. Another problem in the reading is that the animals don't know how to interact with other members of the species. Scientists were able to get around this, however, but used in a different way, not in the beginning of the sentence, in the middle. by keeping the links together in a group. Again, notice the strong and heavy use of these organizational transitionals and connectives, these signal phrases. One problem, or the first problem. And then every time you contrast, go from one to the other, reading, lecture, we have but, we have however, okay? Also, again, you got to have a million ways to say says, states that, describes, conjects, supposes. There's really tons of words to say that somebody says something. Okay.
Teacher,
Yes, B.
the reading test that is mean that the reading reading notice that, right?
It's possible to use the reading notices that. Here, the reading states that.
It's the same meaning?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Notes.
What's the difference?
Oh, did you say notes that?
Yeah, the note. Yes.
Oh, okay. Not notice. No. Notes is good. The reading notes that. N-O-T-E-S. That would mean the same thing,
Yeah.
and that's a good one, actually.
Yes. The test that is better, right?
No, they are equal. In fact, they are equally deliciously, wonderfully, scrumptiously good. What is good is you need to, because you're going to have to be using these actually all throughout questions 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're talking about what you read and what you heard. So you've got to have as many possible ways to say states that, notes that, conjects that, even simply says that, supposes that, alleges that, brings up the point that. You've got to have, or according to the reading. There's another one. Okay, you've got to have none of them are better than another one. What's not good is using one all the way through 5 or 6 or 8 times through the test. What's great is using 8 different ones. That's going to pretty much, there's no way you could have a poor score if you're able to do that. As long as you're also doing this one problem, and then don't forget the contrasting signal words. But, however, okay, another problem. All right, final problem. One more problem. Again, an additional problem, an additional point. Gazillions of ways to add a point or add a contrast. But anyway, you really got to be doing that. Now, these are templates, and this is an example. There could be other small possibilities. I brought up the point that I would compare the reading and the listening in the first sentence myself. I would choose to do that. I think it's slightly clearer. I probably wouldn't even bring up this more general detail one. I myself would probably talk about keeping the animals longer, forcing the animals to hunt, and keeping the links together as 3 points. Doesn't matter. You don't have to get every single point. You have to fill up the minute. You just have to have points. The bad point and the good point here in question 4 is that the bad point is they'll have 3 to 5 points. So you might not catch them all. But the good point is you're never going to have time to talk about 5 points anyway. So it really doesn't matter. You only have a minute to speak, so there's no way you can talk about 5 separate points. The reading and the speaking. You can't. A human being says about 8 sentences in 1 minute. And if I say reading, speaking for 5 points, that's 10 sentences, 11 with my introduction. It's physically impossible. So you don't have to say every point. B, your question. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Mature, what does this mean?
and let them mature. Okay. Literally, physiologically, your body is mature when you're ready to breed and make more. So get older. Of course, we use mature for human beings to mean become an adult, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. So if I say you're immature, that's the opposite. I'm probably saying you're not emotionally an adult yet. You're still like a child. But with animals, you're most certainly talking about physical maturity. Okay, Saiban, bye, Saiban. Okay, and B, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you as well. Tomorrow, at the same time, I will be concluding the TOEFL, the look at TOEFL speaking with questions 5 and 6. 5 is a
It's
tough one.
really difficult. Bye.
5 is a tough one. 5 is a very tough one, so I hope you can join me tomorrow. Okay, thank you.